Hi everyone, thank you for joining me. Today's video comes to you from the small mountain town of Relleu. At least I think that's how you pronounce it. The name's coming up along the bottom in a second. It's over there behind me is the town. I'm not in the town, I'm up on a hill near the town because I'm up here to try to photograph the castle, or rather the ruins of a castle that's set up on this hill. So 2 videos ago I was photographing BR Castle, which is a restored castle. I was photographing it from a distance away using a telephoto lens. In today's video I'm photographing a completely ruined castle. I mean, it's just bits and pieces. I'm right up close and I'm probably going to be using a wide angle lens. Now I have to say that on arriving here the conditions were not what I expected, and I ended up kind of rushing around and actually doing a couple of images. One, nothing to do with the castle, but as I always say, if you see an opportunity for an image then you kind of got to go for it. So one of them was an image that I took before I'd even climbed up to the castle, and I've already done one shot of the castle ruins. So I'm going to backtrack in time in a second and show you those 2 photo shoots before we get on and see what else the evening gives us. I hope you'll enjoy the video. If you do and you're not already a subscriber, then please consider hitting subscribe. And if you are a subscriber, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Anyway, let's go back and have a look at the first 2 photo shoots that I've done. Now I've actually come here to photograph the castle ruins that you may be able to see. They're kind of hidden behind this tree up there behind me. But as I was walking, after I'd parked the car and I was walking up towards the castle, I spotted this gorgeous scene out here. It's another one of these scenes with lots of haze and kind of atmosphere and mood, layers going back. And I just had to stop and try and get a shot of it. Now the problem I've got at the moment is working out what's the best composition. Part of me wants to do quite a wide scene, fit lots in, and part of me wants to zoom right into some details right down in the middle of the scene. So I'm actually going to do both. I think what I might do is actually shoot a panorama across the scene and then do another shot, a telephoto zoomed right in on the centre of the scene, taking out the big mountains and hills either side and just those ridges and mist and haze in there. So I better get set up, and I've got the camera set up already, but if I'm going to do a pano I need to change things around. Okay, so I've got my tripod leveled, I've got my camera leveled, and I've just swung the camera all the way around with my histogram on, all the way across the scene, and I've made sure that I'm not going to blow the highlights anywhere in the scene, and at 1/80th of a second I'm good. And the panorama is going to stretch all the way from the big mountain over there to the big hills over there. Okay, that's the pano done. Now I'm going to go in right in for some detail right down in the middle of the scene. Okay, so I've now gone back to my landscape orientation. I'm zoomed right in on the rows of ridges right in the middle of the scene, 200mm f11, and I can go up to about 1/50th of a second. Okay, so I'm up on the castle ruins now, and it really is just fragments of castle. I mean, if I point you over this way, you can see there's just bits and pieces sticking up. Now, I think there's a composition that might be worth doing in a few minutes, because although the sun is very watery, because it's coming through a lot of cloud and haze, it is visible, and I think there might be a shot to be had there. So I'm going to set up and get that one before the sun gets out of position. Okay, I was a bit too slow, and the sun, oh, it's coming back out again now. I might have to move fractionally. So what I was trying to get was, there's the kind of a lopsided U shape in the ruins, and the sun is just very weakly coming through the cloud. Now, when I first thought about getting this shot, sorry, I'm still frantically grabbing images as the sun seems to be coming through. When I first thought about getting this shot, the sun was a little bit higher, but it's gone lower now. That's why I've got the camera up pretty high, and I'm going to bracket exposures. So I'm going to go 1/250th of a second to preserve all of the highlights. And then 1/60th of a second to get me some shadow detail back. Not that I want a lot of shadow detail, I want it to be mostly in silhouette. But just in case I want to pull a little bit of detail out. So the idea on this one was that I've got pretty much the fragments of the ruins of the castle. Not that there's a big bit just over behind this camera at the moment, but I've got a lot of fragments of the ruins of the castle there, and the sun just dipping down into that kind of lopsided U-shaped part of the ruins. I was shooting at 35mm f11, and I think I did 1/250th of a second and 1/60th of a second. To be honest, the 1/250th has still got a little bit of shadow detail in, so I might not need the brighter exposure, but better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. And I'm actually taking another couple of shots just as the sun's dipping into that inverted U shape. Sorry, lopsided U shape. Do you know what, having got that one shot, hopefully, of the castle ruins, I'm not sure that I'm that bothered about the castle anymore. It's actually not that photogenic, but what is looking nice is down here, the old town of Relleu. Got some nice light on it. The sun's setting kind of over that way. We're getting lower over that way. It's going to disappear behind some mountains soon. Light on the town. 35mm f11, 1/10th of a second is the shot that I've just taken, because the light has now gone off of there. I'm lucky I took the shot before I decided to talk about it. Okay, so the first 45 minutes or so that I was here in Relleu was just completely frantic. Probably because I got distracted on the way to the castle by the scene and ended up shooting a few images, which meant by the time I got up to the castle ruins the sun was a lot lower than I expected. And then the conditions were just changing so fast. And I just wanted to try to make the most of it. And I always tell people not to rush. But if you know the light has gone off of a scene and the best has gone, then move on to something else. And what was happening is I was seeing a scene, setting up, shooting it quickly, and then the light was going, and then I'd spot something else. And I knew there was no point in hanging on the scene that I was on, because the best of it was already gone. So I do feel like I've been rushing around a little bit in this shoot, which is not the way I would normally like to do things. But as I said, the conditions were changing so fast. Now, having said that, I'm now waiting around. The sun has gone behind the mountains. We're about 5 minutes from official sunset. And if I'm going to be honest, I don't think that the scene out there is going to support a nice sunset sky, even if we get one. And I don't think we're going to get anything opposite looking out towards Relleu. So I'm thinking what I might do is pack up here, and then there's one more possible shot on the way back if it's lit up the way I think it is. We'll have to go and have a look. Okay, so this was the other scene that I was thinking might work on my way back down. It's Ermita Saint Albert. I think that's probably the correct pronunciation. It might be Albert, I don't know. It's spelled Albert. I have actually shot this before when I was up in Relleu, I don't know, 3 years ago. But I shot it early in the morning with natural light. And now what we've got is, as the sun has gone down and it's starting to get darker, they've actually put some floodlights on. So compositionally, what I'm choosing to do is put the Ermita slightly to the left of the frame. And then there's all of these trees around. So I've got these trees framing the Ermita, framing the building. And of course then there's something like some pavement in the foreground. I'm being really careful to make sure that none of the bits of the trees, none of the bushes, none of the pine needles, the ends of the branches are actually encroaching into the space where the Ermita is. So I'm shooting 16 to 35 24mm. There's a little bit of converging verticals problems to be sorted out in post, so I'm actually shooting it slightly wider than I perhaps need it to be, because I'll know I'll need to correct those later. I may not correct them entirely. If I take all of the lean out of the Ermita, it may look wrong. Sometimes having dead straight lines doesn't work. We've got a little bit of nice warm tone in the sky, and of course the floodlights on the scene, and then all of the trees are quite dark. F11 focused on the Ermita, and at the moment half a second, but I'm going to hang on a bit longer and see what happens as it gets a little bit darker, because it might look better when it's a bit darker. I'm quite liking the idea of having this with a bit of colour still in the sky in the background, and we're about 16-17 minutes after sunset now, and I think the colour's starting to fade. Still got a 1 second exposure, and I'm going to take that now, and I think that will probably be my final shot, and hopefully probably the definitive shot, because I think that's when the conditions are going to be at their best. I think once the sky starts to get a lot darker, it's not going to look as nice. Okay, so that's it. I think I've done my final shot of quite a few. Now, normally, as I say, I don't recommend rushing from shot to shot. You know, set up a composition and wait. But if you know that the best of the light has gone on a particular composition, then there's no point in staying there. And the big risk with rushing around is that you miss the best shot. Whereas I think today, by rushing around a little bit, more than usual anyway, I may have actually got more shots than I otherwise would have done. Now, whether they're all good shots or any of them are good shots, I don't know. You'll have seen what I deem fit for sharing anyway. I am going to pack up and head for home. It is getting quite chilly. I've got about an hour's drive home down the mountain roads. So I'm going to pack up and go. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please consider hitting that thumbs up, the like button, giving it a share on social media, and for those of you that haven't yet hit subscribe, now would be an excellent time to do just that. Leave me a comment, let me know what you think, and as always, I really appreciate you taking the time to watch, so thank you very much, and until the next video, bye.